strikes anytime, anywhere. Don't be caught off guard, make sure you prepare. Hurricane, earthquake, a tsunami. Fire and flood threaten your safety. Danger approaching, pay attention to the warnings and advisories. Your essential items packed and ready, so you won't be scrambling in an emergency. Prepare and be aware.
This message is brought to you by the Department of Emergency Management.
Welcome to episode 2 of Real Talk in the Face of Danger. My name is Cici Reid, and episode 2, we're dealing with advancing climate resilience in the community. And today we have 2 guests with me. We are pleased to welcome from the Department of Emergency Management, Mr. Selwyn Brooks and Ms. Chante Saunders, who are going to be engaging and speaking and answering a few of our questions. So, of course, welcome to the podcast and thanks for being here.
It's nice being here.
Well, I guess the first real question would be, what exactly is climate resilience? What does it mean? So you guys can go ahead and both answer that question.
Good day. My name is Chante Saunders. I'm a research associate on the Advancing Community Climate Resilience Planning in the Caribbean project. It's a very long name. But however, I just look at research, coordination, planning for this particular project. And we are based in 2 communities in Barbados, one specifically being in Pile Bay and the other in Crab Hill. When I look at climate resilience, it really has different meanings. But when we look at the community involvement of it, it involves having persons be a part of that solution, where we learn to adapt and overcome the capacities of what occurs in different climate and related stresses and shocks. So that would be my definition for climate resilience.
Well, I think in the ever-changing world where we see the phenomenon of what's climate change, what it can do in your various communities, it is very important that we, as Chante has just said, that we build some level of adaptation. So, because no one knows what will happen, and therefore at a community level, it is engaging the community so that they can get a better understanding as to what can happen, so we can plan, prepare, and eventually help to reduce the level of response that would be needed, because we would have put certain proactive steps in place before that, and therefore the recovery would be much less.
And I know that Ms. Saunders explained her role here, but what is your role, Mr. Brooks, within the Department of Emergency Management?
Well, I am here as a consultant with some level of responsibility for the district emergency organizations. You know, there are 30 of them. They're aligned to the constituency boundaries, and the community program is how can we build resilience, not only now to climate change, but overall resilience, so disaster management across the country for whatever the hazard could be.
Now, this is something that we've been hearing that term for a few years now. So what are some of the major challenges when it comes to climate resilience?
I think the challenges is climate resilience, as was defined a minute ago. How can we educate, inform, and engage the community, giving them the level of knowledge that is required in terms of what the hazard and how the hazard would impact on them? I think those are the greatest challenges, because in Barbados we have a certain level of complacency. It wouldn't happen here, and it will happen over there. But I think we now need to educate and engage community, and not only in terms of the community, but the practitioners, so that they can have a better understanding of what is happening, and they can I like to use the word community capital. So people in the various communities understand that they have an integral part to play in terms of what will be the derivatives of climate change when it comes our way.
So I know you mentioned community quite a bit. So why is it so important to reach out to communities, and why is that crucial to climate resilience?
Well, when anything happens, it doesn't happen. A community is a microcosm of what a set of people living in a given space. And therefore, how we're going to measure the level of impact is those persons that is affected the most. So a community is, you have a community of varying types, different levels, whether it be social, whether it be economic, whether it be cultural, and the vagrancies associated with those different communities, the hazard would impact them all. So it is a means of trying to touch base with everyone as much as possible, so that they can have a better understanding that they have a part to play. communities have a greater part to play. It is not a governmental responsibility. It is not a ministerial responsibility. It has to be seen as a collective responsibility, how we can come together, assist the agencies like the Department of Emergency Management, assist the governmental agencies, whoever the government of the day, so that we have a holistic approach and a holistic response to what is likely to happen to us.
Okay, that actually brings me to you, Ms. Saunders. There's a project called Advancing Community Climate Resilience Planning. That's an initiative. And what are some of the key aspects of that project and that initiative?
Yes. So it's a twofold project. It's based in Barbados as well in Dominica. So the first stages of the project was to assess the risk of those communities. So we started off with a small draft of some risk assessments in the two communities in Barbados. So the next step of that would be to present that finding to the persons in the community, and that would be done later on in the summer. But right now, we're actually planning a grant proposal writing workshop specifically for the district emergency organizations. And this is a way to, I guess, try to get them to understand how to fund proposal writing. And in the event that they do want to have a project that they could carry out themselves, this workshop would help to encourage them on how to do that and which funders they can seek for that. And then afterwards, we have an implementation clinic, and this clinic would bring together the funders and the community together in one place so that it will be easier for them to connect with those funding agencies. And then lastly, we would hope that they can actually carry out these projects moving forward. So that's the main key goals for the project.
Okay, so I know you mentioned a few different groups there, so that kind of brings us back to both points. There are a few stakeholders in this thing called climate resilience. So how important is it for collaborations? You mentioned any government, whichever government it may be, governments, NGOs, private sectors, of course the communities, and how important is that for the collaboration in all the efforts that are being made?
Yeah. I think it's important to have that inclusivity when you have those various stakeholders, government, private sector, NGOs, for instance. With this particular project, we have international organizations, persons in Northeastern University in Boston, as well as persons on the ground in the community for our district emergency organizations. But they're all at the same table and they're all making decisions together. So I think it's important that they all come together and plan a way forward, because I find that no solution is the same. So it's important for them to have a unique solution, and bringing everyone to the table and making sure that it's inclusive is an important part of a collaborative process.
And to add to that, in many cases, persons in the community seem sometimes to think they're either marginalized or they are left out. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to do something for a person in the community, I think they have a fundamental right to be part from the concept in implementation and in the success that you are expected to get out of the project. So that collaboration and inclusiveness, having the community to have a voice in what is actually happening in their various communities. In some cases, they may not have the professional analysis and the information. So by merging the data, getting them to confirm that what we're actually saying, everyone is reading off the same page, that creates that level of inclusiveness, and it creates that harmonious approach so that we're in this together, we have identified what the issues are together, and we can go forward together towards forming solutions, because the community has to be part of it. And they are integral to any success at a climate resilience project in the various communities. So I think I'm excited about it. I'm quite certain Chante is excited about it. The Department of Emergency Management is the motivating force, and we joined with our partners. And I think the outcomes of this is achievable with greater community engagement.